have it this morning. First, we want to introduce to you all Chicago, Mr. Larry Hoover Jr. is here. Good morning, sir.
Hey, how y'all doing, man?
Good. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. We're going to get some questions answered today, yes?
Okay.
All right.
See what we can do.
All right. All right. And we're also joined by Miss Hoover as well. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Now, I'm going to ask you guys to get a little closer to the microphone. Just pull up a little bit. Probably about, if you can get maybe about this close when you're speaking. Pick up.
I got short legs.
That's right. Me too. We're in the same boat.
Hey, don't worry about it. You talking to him.
Yeah. All right, so here's what I'd like to start the conversation. Let's pretend we're not in Chicago. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's somebody out there that's of a younger generation. Please explain who your father, Larry Hoover, is for the person that is not as educated as, some of us.
Okay. Larry Hoover is a leader in Chicago. Larry Hoover is a leader in Chicago. He was popularized from being a leader. Larry Hoover was popularized for being a leader in the streets, but people from the streets knew Larry Hoover was a leader with not just street things. You know what I mean? He was a leader that brought people together. He's an organizer. He brought people together, and he was doing things to organize his community. So he's just a guy with a lot of power that used his power to bring people together for positive things. He's seen what his power could do with negative things, and he paid attention to what Daley did, and he wanted to use his power the way Daley did to do positive things and move into politics, which wasn't a good thing for the city.
Mm.
They didn't want to see us come together and pull our people from the streets together and get in politics.
Almost like they wanted to stay in the streets. Don't try to transition.
Yeah, stay in the seat. Stay in the streets. Don't try to transition. Don't try to come into politics and take control of the city and make it better for your community.
So your father has been in jail since, I forget, 1970s, correct?
73.
73. So how low were you when your father went away?
He was in my stomach.
He was in your stomach. He wasn't born yet.
He was not born yet.
So then can I bring it over to you, because you actually lived it and you were going through it, the way you describe your father as an organizer. But unfortunately, he's currently now in jail. And for those who don't know, again, we're just pretending we're not in Chicago. What are the charges that your father, your husband, is in jail for?
His first charge that he received in 1973 was pertaining to him ordering, so they say, a murder of a guy that had stuck up some of his drug dealers. So, but the one guy that was killed, even though his co-defendant openly admitted that he was the shooter, but they still hold him accountable because they said he gave the order. So then in 1995, they picked him up on federal charges and gave him RICO for drug conspiracy and just a bunch of other chopped up stuff.
And he was inside when that happened, right? When RICO came out, he was already incarcerated.
Exactly.
But I would like to speak on that. The fact of the matter is, they gave him for drugs. He was, they gave him 5 to 6 life sentences for a drug charge. And now we had a First Step Act, and people are coming home on those charges.
Right.
5 to 6 life sentences on the drug charges. Crazy anyway. It doesn't make any sense. And under the First Step Act, he qualifies to come home. So he's not being held over the drug charges at this point. The law says he should be home as far as the First Step Act.
Then why is he not home? What are they saying?
That's the question. That's what I'm trying to say. They say that he might not use his ability to lead people in the right way. It seems like they're scared for him to come home. I don't understand what the reason is. He was doing positive things. He influenced a lot of people in the community positively. There's people out here that own businesses, there's teachers, it's just all type. It's people on radio. It's people that turned their life around from his word. And those are the things that he was doing. He doesn't get the credit for that. He gets the credit for kids out here in the street killing each other that he don't know nothing about, and stuff that he thinks is crazy that if he could take part in, it wouldn't be going on. He would try his best to make sure this stuff wouldn't go on. He sees the news about what's happening in Chicago, and he's trying to figure out, like, man, what's going on? You know, this doesn't make any sense. He can't even understand it, but he gets the credit for being responsible for what's going on. But back to what we were saying, it's a crime for drugs, 5 to 6 life sentences. Other people on his same case and with the same case have been coming home. And we want to be Americans and live by the law. The law says he's supposed to be home. Don't find other reason to hold my father in jail. I mean, he's 71. He's not interested in crime. He deserves the opportunity to come home and start over, have redemption, you know. And they're not willing to give him that. It's like they're scared of him for whatever reason.
Yes, prison is about rehabilitation and people changing. And I think 30-something plus years, 3 decades. 40, I'm sorry. People change. The question I want to ask to you, and Mama too, I want to ask both of you all. You just said, like, shorties are out here doing stuff now that he knows nothing about, like, because of this time frame that has passed. Upon him coming out, how does he, a man 4 generations from these little guys that's out on the street that don't believe in protocol, that don't believe in structure, that don't believe in discipline, how does he reach them being so far distanced from them? I know on a political sphere, they don't want no problems with that because he knows both sides of the game and he can talk that talk. But how does he go about reaching these youth that seem like they're just out of control, man?
Well, he reaches the youth through reaching the people that they respect.
Okay.
You know, he would bring a lot of people back into the movement of trying to grab control of their communities, and it would be a trickle-down effect. Like, he may not directly be able to reach some of these youngsters that don't know who he is, but then again, his name is legend, so he might be able to reach some of them. But, you know, it's just a trickle-down effect. The people that wasn't willing to step out and do their part, you know, he puts them into place.
Positions.
To, you know, and it trickles down. Your grandfather is now telling his son, and his son is telling his son, and it's, you know, it just goes down through the family. On top of the fact that his name rings bells, he gets the people they respect, and, you know, he had them take part in putting the message and putting information in people's head.
Yeah.
You know, trying to give them a different outlook.
Now, obviously, we know that you all are definitely fighting for him to come out, you know what I mean, and be able to spend time out on the streets after all of these years. We were having a conversation on the radio, and some people in the city of Chicago say no, and from their perspective is no, you know, he was responsible for some things. You know, I don't necessarily think he should be out. You know, what would you say to that person that believes that?
Well, those are people that are speaking that don't know him. I know him. I speak to him. You're going off the legend of who Larry Hoover is. If we're Americans and we live by the law says he's supposed to come home, regardless of what they think. You know, if the law says that I committed a crime and I was supposed to do so much time, I want the law to let me out after my time is done. So, really, those people have nothing to say. You know, they talking off of emotion and their feelings. He deserves to be treated fairly. What if it was them in that situation? The same people that's saying he shouldn't come home, what if they committed a crime and the time was up? They want to come home because the time is up. They served their time for the crime they committed. So I'm not really interested in what they have to say. You know, they kept me silent for a long time, being embarrassed and thinking about what they were saying. But it's to the point now, he's supposed to be coming home. And all of that doesn't make any sense. They can talk till they blue in the face. The law says that he's supposed to be coming home.
Speaking of the law, I want to bring this up because I want to make sure we're clear, because you did mention he's in jail for the drug charges. But does he have any murder charges? Is that a reason why he's in jail? Because when I look it up, it says he's been convicted due to murder charges.
So he's held under 2 jurisdictions, which is something that they don't usually do. So he's held under state law and he's held under federal law. He was doing time for state law, and then they picked him up and gave him a federal case. I can't say 100%, but they usually drop one if they go take you on the other one. So they're holding him that just in case he comes from under the federal law, he has to go back to the state situation.
So there is a murder charge.
There's a charge saying that he gave the order for a murder charge.
So that could be the reason why they're not allowing him to be out of jail under the first charges we were talking about. Or you're shaking your head no. I'm just trying to understand, because you are making sense. If there's no murder charge and it's just a drug charge, then right, he should be let out.
So it's two cases. So he has to deal with each one separately.
Gotcha.
And under the drug thing, it should be a clear go, but the judge has discrepancy.
Right.
So we have to deal with the judge deciding if he feels like he's a good guy or not, or if he deserves to come home, or decide if he's going to try to run the gang and, terrorize the city and all that type of stuff. That's what's on the judge's mind when he has to use discrepancy. He has to think about the media and all the people that say you shouldn't do that. He can't just do his job without worrying about, I can't say worrying about it, but I imagine it makes him look a certain type of way. If he's the one that says, you know what, he deserves a shot, there's going to be a lot of other people, like they were saying earlier, that's going to look at him and say, why would you give this man a chance? Instead of saying he deserves it, it says that he deserves a chance.
So popular opinion
Right.
versus the law.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback off of just kind of the question that Kyle posed, right? And the reason I was asking to get the clarity on the murder charge, because it kind of goes into that question. Rightfully so, this is your father. This is your husband. You're supposed to be wanting him out of jail. What if there's a family that felt that they lost their father due to something your father was a part of? I don't know if it's sympathy or empathy, but do you empathize with them having the exact opposite emotion of you?
I empathize with it, but I'm against all of the killing and crime and activity that goes on in the street. So I can understand a family having a problem with something that they try to not that they try to, but they feel like my father is responsible
Right.
for. My father hasn't been in the streets for 48 years. My father, if something happened through something that was connected to my father, is probably really connected to the people that did that act, And I understand people feel in a certain way, but they usually give you a certain amount of time. It's people that have actually did heinous crimes, killed kids and killed the police that have been home. They said that my father gave the order for this murder. His rappy, who was on the case with him, who actually said that he pulled the trigger, he came home. It's not fair. If you look at it, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. People look at his name and everything around his name, and he's Mega Man, the master criminal or something. He's a human being. Quit looking at Larry Hoover as the folklore. Look at Larry Hoover as the person. Does every person not deserve a chance for redemption? It's been 48 years.
Wow. Miss Hoover, I want to direct this question directly to you. What was it like for you being his wife and seeing his name dragged through the mud, knowing him as a person, and then to watch your children being pain because they have to talk to dad from behind a glass wall, or maybe not even get to see him because they have him somewhere where you just can't go visit all the time? What was that like for you, and what was your relationship like, or what has it been since this whole 40 plus years of incarceration?
Well, it's been a hard journey. And if it wasn't for my family and close friends that helped me make it, with making sure they accomplished some of the things that they needed to accomplish coming up. When he was young, when we go visit, and he'd be asking me why and where his daddy is, and I would tell him he was working at a zoo.
Wow.
Until one day he finally just told me, "Mama, my daddy ain't at no zoo, he in jail."
But I know that had to be painful. We laugh about it now, but that had to be masking the pain of even having to tell your son that.
I had to do that. I out of the group of the children too that I had to raise, and they just went along. Like on the Ye's album where he mentioned, he went from from grammar school to high school to college, And I keep telling him, oh, he'll be home when you get out, when you graduate from 8th grade. Oh, he'll be home when you get, these are things I was telling him. You know, my oldest son, he was, when his dad gonna be around here? And same thing. So they all made those different steps in their life without him being there. So it was hard. It was, I had to be the baseball mom, the team mom for that. I was the football for my oldest, and the team mom for that. You know, so I had to just be that role model for them, and hoping that soon that he would be here, because we always expected him to come home. You know, it was always things that he should have been released, and it always fall back on the powers that be. I think 21st century vote put them all into shock. You know, when they seen that you could move over 10,000 people peacefully, marching and requiring that they do better by the educational schools and the health care and all of these things, and they never gave him credit for that. Even when kids came up missing and was being raped and all, and they got out there and helped find these people to have them go before the system, the justice system, in order to let them know that we out here trying to save lives. I mean, you know, he's never been focused into just going to be a thug, and he wanted to redeem himself, and they won't allow him to be redeemed. I mean, it's terrible that he has to sit there. I mean, he has read so much and gone through so much. I mean, it's almost an argument trying to explain how it really is out in the streets, because he don't understand. And it's all about, where's the kids' parents? Where are they? You know? I mean, it's always about each one, teach one, but it's terrible. And that's it. And it's heartbreaking. I'm into a lot of...
See you later, not having Wi-Fi when you want it. Hello to a phone plan with a full-speed hotspot tethering. Hello, Google.
Mostly guys more than women. And it's only because I only have the strength of being a mother and a woman. So I can only talk to you or give you compassion, hugs. That's why I don't shake hands. I prefer just giving you a hug and just try to talk. I reach a lot of them, you know. I have so many people calling me mama. I'll be like, okay, you know, but that helps me.
How taxing is that for you, though, to share? I mean, I know it's a good thing, but you're sharing your love with a lot of people.
Exactly. I mean, that's just a part of me. That's the way I am. That's the way my mom raised me. My mother was that kind of a person. She always felt like you can feed somebody. You'll always be able to do something, you know. That's the way I am. I'm not as bad as her, because she would bring people home off the street. I'm not bringing nobody home with me, but she would. I'd be like, Mama, they got to go. They need to. They got to go. So that's what they know.
Ms. Hoover, you mentioned Kanye West, which leads into the question I was about to ask next, because Larry, you said that the folklore of your father's name is sometimes working against him coming home. And when we talk about hip-hop and people mentioning your father's folklore in songs and in lyrics and kind of keeping that folklore alive, it can kind of be a two-edged sword, right? Because on one side, they're keeping that folklore alive that could be keeping him from coming home, but on the other side, they're keeping his name alive, which could be helping you in the fight to bring him home. So where do you all as a family stand in terms of how much recognition or how much hip-hop is playing a part in that whole scenario?
Well, I appreciate what hip-hop does for keeping his name alive and keeping people aware that the fight is still going on for my father. It can also be a negative thing when they speak on him the wrong way. You know what I mean? When instead of seeing him as the man, Mr. Hoover, seeing him as chief and the chairman, which is, it's never going to go away. He is that, but for the powers that be, like, that's a negative thing for them to hear. But just the people that we can touch through hip-hop and keeping his name alive, it's a beautiful thing, and getting people to join in for the fight, just like what Kanye did is, like, he gave us the I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
right.
I can't say that's my brother. I know that
Right.
his name is Ye. But what Ye did was, I mean, that put us on the stage to, you know
Are
what
you
I mean?
referring to the video of
Platform.
Ye and Jay Prince that he put out on Instagram?
No, no, no.
But then
the
Donald
song,
Trump.
Donda.
But then Donald
Well,
Trump. too.
okay, well,
Or all of it, right?
Ye started a couple years back. You know what I mean? He went to talk to Trump. A lot of people didn't follow the whole thing because they took snippets.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he's been advocating for my father for years now. Then he kind of, the fact that, you know what, the fact that I didn't see him and then he came back, that don't even matter. The fact is that he came back. Then he came back and he gave me this platform. I asked him for the platform years ago. And, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. And then next thing you know, he called me and put me on the album. And, man, Now the World, knowing Now the World is refueled with, like, we almost forgot about it. But we didn't forget because it's our life.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, we're ready to fight to see what can be done, because when you look at it, it just don't add up. Like, if the people don't get behind it and there's no noise being made, then the powers that be that hold them, they just sweep it under the rug and don't worry about it. So this hip-hop platform is a beautiful platform. And when my father seen that Ye was back and that he was with us, you know, he's always into bringing people together. So he sees a little bit of what's going on with out in the media with entertainers and what have you. And since Ye was on the team with us and he seen since he seen we had a relationship, and he see the beef that him and Drake was having, you know, and he likes to bring people together. That's what he used his power to do. As you know, back in the day when everybody came together and the streets was safe to walk, when he brought all the organizations together just off of respect and not off of force. But he wanted to bring Kanye and Drake together to squash their beef, because those are leaders out here. You know what I mean? A lot of people respect them and what they do, and they have a voice. And if they could set an example by squashing their beef, maybe other people can start squashing beefs down the line. You know what I mean? There's rappers dying over beefs out here in the music, and they at the top of the list. You know, they representations of us and our whole community. So he like, man, I'm going to see what I could do with that. It would be nice if I could get those guys together to squash that. Then maybe just going down the line. It may go into our communities and everything in all these different cities. Entertainers are into it. People are dying. Instead of us making money and enjoying being in that position, you at the top of the position and you and now you're dying. You're the biggest gangster in the city. It's like they hustling backwards.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
We say that all the
All
time.
the time we talk about that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like I say, the word bass apples. You know what I mean?
Self-explanatory,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
They get, you know, you make all that money, you get in position to help your community, and now you go to jail, you get murdered out here in the streets.
Can't do nothing with it. You did all that.
Like, you're supposed to bring people up. You're supposed to go to a spot, people supposed to be happy to see you and welcoming you in, not trying to try you for what you said on the album.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he just seen that we had the relationship, and through his idea and our relationship with Ye and Jay's relationship with Drake, you know, we got to sit down and talk to both of them, and they both are they said they were willing to help with the movement for my father. So
Nice.
I don't want to cut you off,
Too
but
strong.
right.
Too strong.
that's big.
They're both willing to help, but so the question is, are they going to come together with the help? Because, you know, Kanye, we've seen the video with Jay Prince and Kanye extending the invitation to Drake doing this concert, but what's the update? Is the concert going to happen? Do you got information? Can you confirm?
we can confirm that Kanye is on board. We trying to make sure everybody's on board.
Trying to make sure everybody's on board.
We're
Okay.
trying to make sure
Okay.
everybody's going to be on board.
Okay, so we need a confirmation from Drake. It sounds like potentially.
Read the read the lines.
Okay.
Read between the lines.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like I heard you say about Drake and Kanye, just me in my mind living out here all my life, like Drake and Kanye getting together, that's amazing. That's two powerful allies. But I don't see Drake and Kanye getting into it. Like, they beef will pretty much stay on record. I know you trying to reach these guys that's really out here like getting down on each other when they say this and and the other side say that. Next thing you know, they spinning on 63rd, or they come back over 63rd for 111th and Vincennes, where they at into it at. Where I got little guys that's scared to go past 113th. Like, how do we get to those artists? Is it through Drake and Kanye? That's what you're saying?
That's a start.
It's a start. Like, those guys are willing to reach out to them because who they are in the music, or we can get to some of those guys. It's to set the trend.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Not just because they did it, it's going to happen, but it can set the trend to show that it's okay. It helps put people like me and other people in position to be able to go to some of these guys and say,
so if the big dog's doing it, y'all could do it.
yeah. You know what I mean? And then it's not necessarily the artist it's the crew that's with the artist. It's the people that love and support them that wind up getting hurt.
True.
You know what I mean? Y'all out here running the mouth, which is put you as the spokesperson for negativity. They shouldn't be there. Y'all, they the breadwinners. And then they guys trying to protect them are the ones getting killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Johnny Dang said blah blah blah, and Killer Cam over there trying to get at Johnny Dang, and Johnny Dang people trying to make sure they don't get at. And
because there's guys that's really out. There's guys that's really out here.
Yeah.
That's with the guys that's not out here that'll make sure nothing. Want to make sure don't nothing happen to their guy.
But we need to use any and every way we can use to try to. You know what I mean? That's just one angle. You know, but it's gonna take more.
Yeah.
But if that can save a life, it's a good thing.
So be it.
I wanted to ask you really quickly. You know, you guys are obviously in conversation with your father a lot. Is there anything that he might have said that he wants to share directly, or any thoughts, words, you know what I'm saying, that if he could speak directly to the city of Chicago, if he could speak, what would be the words coming out of his mouth to the people here in Chicago?
You want to say something first?